All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Breakdown. My name's Andrew. This is Julie. We're so thankful you're hanging out with us. What we're going to do today is simply break down Pastor's message from Sunday, talk about a couple things that stood out to us. But if you have not seen it, I want to encourage you to go back and watch it because it was awesome as we wrapped up this series on Daniel. So, Julie, Pastor wrapped up today's series the series on Daniel, and the title of the message was Gratitude Through the Trials of Life, which I just thought was a great theme from the very beginning all the way through the message, of course, to end with that gratitude as well. But maybe give us a snapshot of what's going on in this passage, and then let's talk through what stood out to us.
Well, this is a famous passage that we've all heard, which is Daniel in the lion's den.
Right.
But some things that I thought were interesting was that Daniel was 80 years old.
I know.
When he was thrown in the lion's den.
I know, which is so fitting that Pastor preached this message
I knew
on
that was
National
coming. Thank you.
Senior Adult Day.
Why did I set myself up for that? I do
didn't
not
say
even know. I don't even know why I set myself
Julie, I
up
didn't
for
say
that.
anything about you being a senior adult.
Okay,
I just
moving
said
on.
that Pastor.
And so the one question that was asked was this at the very
so what
beginning.
is
Are
this?
you the same person at home
Oh,
as
that
you
was
are
good.
at church?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it was really good.
So what we see in this passage with Daniel is that the reason he was thrown in the lion's den is because there was an edict, an order, a law that went out that said that you could only worship the king. And Daniel, being Daniel and consistent in his life, he was the same whether it was the law or not the law. It's the same whether people were watching or he was in private. He went up to his room, opened the window, faced Jerusalem, and he prayed just as he had done before. That's the line in the passage I love, that he didn't. Okay, so sometimes I've seen myself, other people, really dive into, you're telling me I can't pray?
Right.
Well, then we're going to pray. We're going to pray. You know what I'm saying? Or you tell me I can't do that. Oh, I'm going to do that. And Daniel's response wasn't out of, you tell me I can't do it, therefore I'm going to start doing it. It said just as he had done before, Daniel didn't have to start doing something because they told him he couldn't. He just continued in this personal relationship with the Lord that he had.
And he'd been doing that since he was a teenager.
Right.
I mean, as we think back through the series and we think about the very first sermon, we're reminded that he was young when he started that, and so it continued throughout his life, which is a real encouragement for us senior adults to remember that prayer is always important.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And Pastor, from the very beginning said that our faith is personal but never private.
Yeah. Our
faith is personal but never private. And I think in the culture we live in today, the culture at times can be like, okay, I'm fine with you believing what you believe, just keep it to yourself.
Yeah, don't tell me about it.
Yeah. And that's just not the way our faith works. Like, people should know, why are we different?
Yeah.
Why are we nice? Why do we help others? Why do we serve? Why do we whatever? It's not just because we're good people.
Absolutely.
It's because we know Jesus.
That's right. And he makes a difference in our lives and not be nervous about doing that. Right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think sometimes we get fearful of sharing our faith or why we are different, but really, there should be a difference in us.
No, you're exactly right. We often, and Pastor said this, think of this passage in Daniel 6 and talk about how courageous Daniel was to go in the lion's den. But Pastor made this statement, that courage, he had a lifetime of courage to live his life for Jesus. So it wasn't just, the lion's den was evidence of the courage he has lived his whole life, consistently following the Lord, worshiping the Lord. Was Daniel perfect? No. Now, we don't read about his flaws, but he was human, so we know that he was not perfect, but he was consistent in his faith.
Yeah, and Pastor talked about two different kings he was under at the time, and he was still doing it, So, the consistency, I think, is something we all struggle with. Because I don't know about you. Do you struggle with consistency?
Yeah.
So do I.
Am I breathing?
Yeah.
Yes,
I think we all do. And yet when we set that as a part of what we do on a daily basis, that becomes routine. And I'm sure Daniel missed a time or two along the way, but he was consistent through the years. Yeah. That was a major part of his walk with God. Okay,
let's talk about that consistency for a second. So, I don't know about you, Julie, but we both get to work here at the church. I absolutely love work. I mean, I feel like I work with my best friends. And sometimes I feel like you guys get the best version of me.
Yeah.
And then I go home and I'm tired and I'm wore out and I'm snappy. And I'm just like, man, I wish sometimes my family got the same version of me that you guys did.
Yeah.
And man, Julie, give me some tips. How can we be more consistent with this public life that we live and this private life? Because I want my boys and my wife to know that I love Jesus and know that I love them just as much as I love everybody else on the outside as well.
Yeah, it's real easy, I think, to make excuses. At some point we just have to bow up and do it. I mean, even here, when we talk with people all the time, by the time you get home, you just want to, and I'm sure in business or wherever you might find yourself, there are just times you want to let down, and home seems to be the place where they get the best, but a lot of times they get the worst of us too.
Right.
And so it becomes something that we really have to work at, and we have to, the consistency of Daniel is a great illustration for us to just keep doing the thing that we know to do to get back, because God has not gone anywhere. It's us who have drifted. And it's important when we make those mistakes or they don't see it, that we apologize and we're humble in saying, I'm sorry, I blew it or messed up. So it's not being perfect all the time, because none of us are, nor are we going to be, but it's learning to say, I messed up, and going before the Lord and confessing that, and then going to the person that we hurt.
Just in hearing you say that, it made me think that the best version of myself is when I'm consistently in the Word.
Yeah.
When I'm consistently praying. That's one thing we see Daniel do. It's, as he had always done, he was doing this 3 times a day, and therefore was able to stand against adversity. For us, it may be staying against adversity, it may just be loving our family, the best that we can, but it still comes back to that consistency with the Lord.
Yeah, and you know what I think is a good idea is that if we don't have that consistent time right now, it's that you put it on your calendar. And you get a buzz to say, I need to stop and pray, so that it becomes that which we do on a consistent basis.
Right. I've heard people say, I don't want to put it on my calendar. I want it to be organic and just happen. And the only things I know that actually happen organic are weeds in my garden and sin in my life. Like, if it's worth doing, it's worth being intentional about and developing a habit. Okay. Point 2, he talked about our mindset changes the moment. And it talked a lot of, and we see this in Scripture, talking about renewing your mind and all of this stuff. So, Julie, what kind of stood out to you when he got to talking about our mindset?
Well, just the fact that I am in control of my mind, and really the battle happens right here. And if I let something come out of my mouth, that I don't ever let something come out of my mouth that I hadn't thought about first. So the battlefield.
Sometimes things come out of my mouth that I have not thought about.
Well, this is true for you. For most of us, no, and this is true. But really, when we're struggling with something, it is a battle, and we have to learn to change our mindset, because when we do, it changes the moment. And Pastor was talking specifically about gratitude, that we can complain about a lot of different things, but
it only takes one thing
to be grateful for. And I don't know about you, but in my life, I have found that I can choose to be negative. That is absolutely no fun continually.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
For you or for anybody that's around you.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. So why? And so I have to change that mindset to go, I'm going to give thanks today. And we can all find something to give thanks for every single day.
Right. And that's not saying you can't be realistic and can't have hard things happen. That's not saying all that, but just the spirit of negativity, that's only going to drain you.
Yeah, and Scripture talks about having joy in our circumstances, because joy is not based upon our circumstances. Joy is a fruit of the Spirit that dwells in us, and so we can have it even in the midst of difficult circumstances.
Yeah, man, that's so good. Okay, so Pastor challenges this. I'm going to close reminding you of this. Pastor challenges for the next 7 days to find something that you're grateful for, just one thing, because again, you can be negative about all kinds of things, but it only takes one thing to be grateful. So that's our challenge today. Julie, you got anything else?
I'm done.
All right, she's done, y'all.
That's good.
All right, well, hey, thanks for joining us on this week's episode of The Breakdown, and we'll see you next week.